Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to another day of learning. Welcome to Institute of Global Professionals free webinar. Once again, thank you again all for joining with us in this Marcella session. And I am Kamrul, coordinator of IGP from Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. And I feel honored to host this webinar. And it's my delight to welcome you all to our Institution of Global Professionals, the International Webinar. And I hope you stay with us till the program and time to time you like our Facebook page and subscribe our YouTube channel. Before we have completed our 808 webinars successfully, today I will be presenting webinar number 809 and the topic is self-directed approach in teaching literature. Before starting the program, I request everyone to share this webinar in your newsfeed and social media. And don't forget to mention your friends in the comment box. Because your advertisement encourages us to do better and best services to our audience. Today we have a speaker from Philippines. Today our speaker name is Samantha Josephine Sabila. She is a English teacher of Las Pinas City National Senior High School, SIA campus from Philippines. That's we welcome our speaker to the screen. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, good day to everyone. I hope I'm audible and visible now.
I hope I'm audible and visible now.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Thank you, ma'am. And give a short
Thank you
description
very
about
much, sir.
yourself. Give a short description about yourself, then you can start your presentation.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much again, Sir Kamul, and for the whole management of the International Global Professional. And I can see a lot of comments right now. Good afternoon all to all of you, and I can see a lot of Filipinos on board as well. Again, the topic that we will be sharing together, sharing because I'm an advocate of equal quality or equal opportunities for learners, not only for the one speaking, but for the people they're talking to. We can always learn from each other. So, self-directed approach in teaching literature. So, I know that this is something that is quite familiar, especially for educators, the SDL or the self-directed learning. Although that this is something that has been very familiar to a lot of people, but still, even at this present time, I think self-directed learning is still a taboo for everyone, because despite us wanting to do it, we would always go backwards because we cannot really achieve it just yet because of the guidelines and factors in the actual educational system that we have right now. So again, I will be representing for this afternoon International Global Professional, and I'll be talking about self-directed approach in teaching literature. So I hope that this will be a fun discussion with each and everyone with you. And I am Miss Maria Samantha Josephine S. Sevilla. I can see a lot of active students. So I hope that you start sharing this live so that a lot of people will be joining us as well. So there would be a lot of sharing during this discussion. Okay. So, to give us one common understanding of what we need to achieve in this session, I have these following objectives. First, we must be able to have an understanding of the importance of self-directed approach to learning. I would like to emphasize the word understanding, because I know again that self-directed learning approach or self-directed approach has been something that is present for quite some time right now, but the actuality or the possibility of it being applied in the present educational system that we have right now is something that most educators would be having a problem of. And then we are going to recreate teaching situations with self-directed approach to learning. Now that we know how important self-directed learning is, we need to see into how we could um, actually apply self-directed learning into our teaching or even in our own learning perception. And lastly, I will be introducing to you the product of our very own action research, along with my colleagues from Las Piñas City National Senior High School CAA campus. I'll be introducing to you GREETS Sheets. This is self-directed learning assessment tool, which would really increase the motivation of students in learning. And this would be may something that you would be also using in your own way of learning or when you are teaching students. Okay, so I hope that's clear with everyone. Sige, before anything else, allow me to have a short introduction of myself. Once again, I am Professor or Miss Maria Samantha Josephine Esabilia. I define myself as an educator, motivational speaker, research enthusiast, professor of purposive communication, and I'm a 21st century jack of all trades, master of myself. Why was I able to, or why have I included that in my introduction? Because most of the time people would say you would like to dig into a lot of aspect in education, but I think that 21st century educators must be able to actually learn a lot of things for you to teach students, isn't it? You need to know a lot of things. We don't go with this is my expertise, this is just the things that I want to do. No, in the pandemic time we were forced to learn a lot of things. Me as an English teacher should learn tech stuff. I need to be tech savvy despite me being an English teacher. And that is something that I want us educators and learners per se should realize, that we should not only be master of one thing, but you should be jack of all trades, right? And I really would like to emphasize that whenever I'm doing something, or even when I'm asking my students to do something, I like them to be driven by intrinsic motivation. Later on, I'll be also sharing about intrinsic motivation. And most of all, to for everyone, I am a teacher who still sees the beauty and greatness in all my students. So that would be my short introduction about myself again. Now, I can see a lot of comments in the comment section. I know that there are some Filipinos on board. Hello, hello. Kamusta po kayong lahat? But I would like to know whether we have, I know that IGP has have a large scope. We are now live in Facebook, also in YouTube. So I want to know, and I want you to share where are you from, so that we could know how far we are here, how far on board are we here. So I can see comments from saan po? Where are you from? I can see comments that they are from Nurso Main Campus. Hello, hello. We have people coming from Dumaguete, Philippines. Hello. So that's how wide IGP is. So we have Philippines. How about the other nationalities? You may comment in the comment box. So this is just a practice, my dear participants, because I know that IGP had prepared to us a very interesting award and also certificate for those active students. I can see a lot of Philippines, Bukidnon. Hello from people from Bukidnon. Hello from Negros Occidental, Apayao, and Mabinay's campus. Hello, hello, everyone. So, aside from asking you how are you today and where are you from, I would like to for us to have in this short period of time a short reminder for everyone. So make sure that your your devices are good to go, find a comfortable and quiet place for you to really get what we're going to talk about this afternoon. And make sure to have all the materials you'll be needing. A sheet of paper and a pen with you would be fine, but if you want to just type your answers, that would do as well. And stay focused. We only have few minutes to be with each other. So let us take the time to really reflect and listen so that we could grasp whatever that we could be learning from this discussion. Be respectful. We will be commenting every now and then our responses make sure that you would be, let's have the common understanding of the concept, agree to disagree, right? So we need to show that we respect each one and be active participants and listen with an open mind and open heart. Okay, so much about establishing our guidelines. So I have here a short activity what which I want you to do. So this activity is entitled "Who's this?" So by in the Philippine context, we have this what we call marites. So this time we're going to do a marites, and you're going to tell me something about the picture or the people that I would be asking you to describe. So what you're going to do is I'll be showing two pictures, and for 1 minute, I would like you to type down how you would describe the two people I will be showing on the screen. So you're going to think, describe as much words that you can on the given people, and list all the things that you know about that person or for that people. For example, their physical, how would you describe them physically? What are their hobbies, their works, their dreams, things you like about them, and other things. So you're going to describe the person I'll be showing on the next slide. So if this person is someone that you don't know, maybe you could focus into the physical aspect of that person na lang. Okay, so are you ready? I think there are a lot of students commenting now, and I think that we are all ready to give the description. So this is the first set of people I want you to describe. I want you to describe first the Bennett sisters. I want you to describe first Mary, Deacon, and Colin, and your friends. Can you describe these people? Look at the picture. How would you describe these people? I'll give you 1 minute to describe the picture on the left versus the people who you think are your friends. Yeah. Do you think you would do the same things as what they are doing? Do you travel with your friends? Things like that. And how do you describe your friends and the people on the screen? Okay. Let's see. 1 more minute. 1 minute to describe this person. Think of your, if you're going to look at this picture, what are the things that you think they are doing? What do you think are their hobbies and things like that? Okay. You may also describe your friends or the things that you like to do together. Yeah, okay. Let's have the next one. The next one is Bennett sisters and your own sisters. So for those who know Bennett sisters, I'm sure that you are very into literature. So do you think, based on this picture, for those who do not know them, how do you describe the Bennett sisters? Or how do you describe your own sibling? You may comment on our comment box. Let me see if we do have comments there. Okay, so happy and adventurous according to our viewer from YouTube. Okay, so they are happy and adventurous according to yeah, Mansa Queenly Mary. Hello, hello. Okay, according to Satok, they're both happy and adventurous. I think they are referring to the friends. Okay, that's great. Okay, what else? How about the sisters, partners in crime? They have similar interests like six, what's happy and enjoyable. So just like your sisters or your sibling, you think they are both very happy people and they're close to each other, intellectually collaborative. So, Satok, you and your siblings are very, I think, witty and intelligent. Okay, happy, adventurous, truly enjoying each other's company. The picture shows a group of friends enjoying being together for adventure and describe my friends the same things we enjoy road trips. According to Janice, so I think you are referring to the first picture, right? Strong relationship. So it shows a strong relationship. That's okay. And funny. I don't know why funny, but yeah, but maybe you think that your friends are funny and the people that are here are on the picture are also funny. For those who know the literature, I know that you can share a lot because these people I referred to are people from literature. Okay, so some of you may know the Bennett sisters and would provide a lot of information, but most of the time you can share a lot of things about your sister. And here you can share about Mary Deacon and Colleen from the Secret Garden, but you can share more about your friends, right? So let's ask this question. Let's reflect on this question. Upon looking at the picture and your answers, which one were you able to give more description? Was it the picture coming from the literature or from the people that you know? From the people that you interact with? Sige nga, let's see our comment section. Uh-huh. From Pride and Prejudice. That's great. The Bennett sister. They're loving, happy, and always on true. Okay. Amazing adventures journey. Okay, that's great. So a lot of you were able to give us a description of the characters. So, but in real life, in whenever you are asked about a person, would you be sharing a lot about a literary character or about someone that you can interact with, people that you know. It's very obvious that we could usually, or most of the time, provide more information about people that we know. And why is that so? It is because we can interact with them. We know them very, very well. It's a personal aspect for us. And looking at how we teach literature, whenever we ask students to characterize someone, characterize a character in the book, most of the time, students would only provide a description about their physical aspect, a little bit about their attitude. But if you would ask them things about their friends, about their family members, about their teachers, there would be a lot of things that they can share because this is a matter of personal things. So if we would make learning literature personal or something that they can interact with in their daily life, it is easier for them to understand better the character, to understand better the situation, to understand better the story per se. So why is it important? Because here in our discussion, that is what we are aiming for. But before I move on to that, allow me to introduce the character I posted. For those who were asking who are these characters, I saw a comment. Yes, they are characters from the very interesting The Secret Garden. It's a story about friends Mary and Colin where they are transformed by Deacon, right? Deacon has been their agent of transformation, just like what we experience with our friends, isn't it? That we can be transformed, we can be improved, we can be changed by people such as friends that we interact with. So it's very beautiful in this story that they can interact nature into the feelings of these young characters. And for those who do not know the next character, yeah, okay, there you are. Ito lang pala. Only have this one. But going back to our discussion of how are we going to make learning personal to our student, I want to share this very common yet something that we really need to reflect on as educator this quotation from Albert Einstein that everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life believing that it is stupid. So looking at the educational system right now and how the students would like to learn, especially after the pandemic, wherein they are from online learning and things like that, we force them to learn through online and other modalities. We weren't able, or the educational system was not able to really look into how the students would learn better based on their interests or based on the things that they want to do. So that is the focus of what we will be talking about today. So how are we going to interject self-directed learning, or the ability of the students to learn in their own way, not only in their own way or in their own face and in their own motivational. It means that education must not be something that is guided all the time, that is surrounded by rules. In this kind of education, we would look into education as something that students would like to do in general, because we have a lot of advocates already. Even when we were in lower education, when we were in elementary, when we were in high school, we have a lot of teachers directing us to do this, submit your assignment, be active students, do not do things like that that would not be according to the rules of the school. And when you were in college, the professors would be saying to you that, oh, this is what these are the things that you need to know for you to be expert in your course. These are the things that you need to achieve for you to be experts in your course. But when you go and work, where are these teachers, right? When you start working, we don't know what to do anymore because there's no teacher. There are no teacher who would instruct us anymore, because the whole time that we were studying, a lot of guidelines, a lot of instruction, but when we do start working, we learn on our own. So why can't the educational system start even in the younger level of education, the drive for students to learn on their own? Let's see better or understand better towards the progress of this discussion. Why am I emphasizing the need for the students to really want to learn, to know how to learn, and to learn on their own? Okay. So let's have a common of understanding first. What is self-directed learning? So I have here a short video presentation, or have here a short video clip, and I want you up on looking at that clip. I want us to learn and reflect on how do you think would we achieve self-directed learning? Okay.
Hello, ma'am. Hello,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. We can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay,
Thank you.
let me go back. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, now moving on. Based on the video that we have shared, we are going to focus into self-directed learning per se for now, not on the approach on how we're going to teach it. And looking at that video or reflecting about that video, what have we learned? The best way, or what were we able to get as the best way for us to create self-directed learning? All in all, what we need to have to achieve self-directed learning is, okay, you can kindly type in the comment box there your answer or what you, ma'am, there's, okay, there's no sound. Okay, now we can have the sound. Mhm. Okay, there we have now. Okay, am I audible? What were you able to realize as your self-directed learning? How we could achieve self-directed learning? Okay, I can see the comment section now are all commenting still about the Nausan. But based on the video, we could see that self-directed learning can only be achieved if we can plan. And the plan must be based on the things that we need to do. So in this video, we can clearly identify that self-directed learning is indeed goal-oriented and self-focused, meaning that for you to achieve self-directed learning, you need to know what to do. So as a learner, let us now look into the perspective of learners. So as a learner, you need to know what you want to achieve first for you to be able to be motivated in whatever that you want to achieve. Okay, let's move on to the next video. And this next video, I want us to think over of how we would know if the goal setting, the self-direction that we are doing is effective. So it's clearly stated in that video how we could achieve or how would we know if what we are doing in the self-directed learning as learners per se, not only as educators, we would know how if what we are doing is effective. First, we need to set goals. We need to make a plan. We need to monitor what we're doing. I would like to emphasize the word monitor. For you to achieve self-directed learning, you need to have certain things to like check upon. You need to have a checklist of the things that you need to do for you to achieve that goal. And the last and most important part is for you to reflect upon. So that's why I kept on asking you to reflect on the things that we're doing, because for you to be able to really achieve self-directed learning, you need to be reflective. Why is that so? Because learning and self-directed learning is a self-motivating aspect, right? So you need to know what are the things that you works for you and what are the things that do not work for you, so that next time that you're going to learn something again and create a plan to learn that thing again, or to learn that concept again, it's easy for you to know if whether that the goal could be achieved based on what skills that you can do for you to be able to do the task. Let's say, for example, you want to learn how to create a web page. You want to create a web page, and you know that you do not have a skills in programming. You know, but you know that you are good in editing. So based on your previous task, you were able to realize that you lack the knowledge of programming, but you are good in designing. So you can choose in creating a new task, you can choose whether to improve the thing that you weren't able to do or you think is your weakness, or you can emphasize, you can focus on the things that you are great already. So that's how self-directed learning per se works. So self-directed learning focuses into the ability of the students to work on his or her own facing, his or her own ability, his or her own motivation. So where is the teacher, or where are guidelines present in self-directed learning? That is the very reason why self-directed learning is something that is not yet present in our educational system, because it's very hard for us a learning aspect just like this to be present in an educational system, guided with guidelines, guided with things that we need to do. Like, for example, here in the Philippines, whatever it is that being taught to you by your teachers, by your professionals, would be coming from a higher organization, such as the Department of Education, the Department, the higher education, right? So there are people, or there are regularities that is being followed for the educational system to work. So if that is guided by things that you need to achieve, there would be a hard time for you to make learning a personal experience for students. But this is what we are going to achieve here in this discussion. How would we be able, or how can we, rather, how can we make self-directed learning still possible in a very regulated and guidelines based educational system, just like what we have at present. Okay. So let's have a common understanding of what self-directed learning approach is in terms of education. The process of self-directed learning is meant to be an inquiry aimed. It means that for you to be able to achieve self-directed learning approach, you need to to allow students to ask questions and make students reflect and formulate what they think they know and what they need to learn from better understanding. It means that for educators here with me this afternoon, we need to emphasize that self-directed learning, to be able to attain that, we need to not be the sole source of the students' learning. We need to accept that the things that students would learn will not only be coming from me, but from us rather. But we can be chosen as people where the students would learn better, would understand and make sense of the information that they will be getting. So self-directed learning approach in teaching doesn't really put away the necessity of teachers to be present in the educational platform or in the educational um, process or the teaching learning process, but it is actually prioritizing students and their ability to learn, not focusing on what the teacher um, know about or what are the things that the teacher would like the students to know, but what are the things that the students must learn from them. Okay, digging deeper, so we are going now and digging deeper to teaching approach. So self-directed learning approach is defined as instructional or learning strategy. When you hear self-directed learning approach in teaching, most of the time you would correlate it to homeschooling, to self-learning, to modular learning, things like that. And that is correct because these terms are a product of self-directed learning. But it doesn't only end that way there, because the most important aspect of self-directed learning is the motivation of the student. It means that the student will be the one choosing or wanting to do the things that they need to do for them to learn. Because in the homeschooling or in the modular learning would only be focused on the things included in the module, included in the lesson for homeschooling. But in self-directed learning, this is something that most educators would fail to realize, that in self-directed learning, the lesson, the approach, the time frame should or must be based on the student's interest, the student's ability, and the student's circumstances. With the guidance from a teacher, mentor, decide what content will be delivered to the student and how it will be presented. So I would like to ask to focus on the following terms. So teachers here now are mentors. We are not source of information already. If we are going to talk about self-directed learning approach. Here, in self-directed learning approach, students are given their ownership. It means that what they are learning is something that is personal to them. It's their responsibility. And that, as I think, providing circumstances like that in education would really help the students to value whatever they are learning or whatever that they are gaining in the educational system. um They are studying by choosing their specific experiences that interest them most, such as through either hands-on, lecture-based delivery method, which results in more natural and desirable comprehension of the subject. It means that now the purpose of the teachers is to provide avenue for students to widen their scope. Let's say, for example, the students would be want to focus on to music, right? So music. So the focus of the learning of the students now would focus into music, and you want them to have a broader perspective about what they would be learning. Then you can interject culture, history in the concept of music. Let's say, for example, they're teaching, and in the concept of literature, you're talking about literature, but you want them to have their sense of ownership. So you could interject something that is interesting for them. Let's say, for example, foreign languages and how languages would affect literature, just like what is present in the Philippine literature, things like that. That we have been, the literature has been rewritten or has been patterned to the not to the a culture um, present here at a specific time in Philippine literature, and so much more. Self-directed learning per se composed of the following components. First is management and monitoring. Management and monitoring and learning and self-directed learning doesn't or would not be the sole responsibility of teachers. Here, the beauty actually of self-directed learning approach is it actually would be giving less work for the teachers. I would say that because monitoring and management of their learning would be still the responsibility of the student. Oh, Miss Sevilla, does it mean the teachers will not be checking outputs anymore? No, they will be checking outputs still. However, they need to have or they need to establish guidelines or how they're going to grade the students. And the students should have the ability to check and counter check whether the output that they are providing are correct. One component of self-directed learning is it is assessing learners needs. So instead of you as a self-directed in self-directed learning approach, instead of you just creating checklists of the things that the students know already and still need to know, and the things that they weren't able to know, this assessment would focus into the things that they perceived to be needed, right? Things that they think must be included in the lesson that would help them understand better. Let's say, for example, you have students who would learn better if he or she would understand the history of the story before reading the story. Or let's say your student is more into understanding the language before reading the story, or or other contexts of the story that you may include, or some of your students would like to focus into the author's life before reading. So you need to know how to help or how to assess the need of the students for them to learn better or understand the text that you're going to teach them. And the beauty, that's quite contradicting, although that this is called self-directed learning, but it requires collaboration. Why? Because in self-directed learning, as I've told you a while ago, it is not a matter of student and teacher. It's a matter of how the student would grasp everything that he may be learning, and how the teacher would allow those information to make sense to the student. It means that collaboration can be from the teacher to the student to the information that the student got from the internet. Or it could be something from the student, the teacher, and the student's experience in their lifetime, or and the text that the student was able to read aside from the literature that you're reading at present. It could be a collaboration not only by people working together, but by the things that the students could make sense or could relate from the literature or the topic that you're talking about. Next, the most important and I think the most essential aspect of self-directed learning is its self-evaluation. If it's self-evaluation, it means that it's hard for students to really fail because they're only looking at themselves, right? So it's easy for students to know when and how to progress in their learning if they are only evaluating themselves. Okay, moving on. Okay, let us dig into deeper these terms. So when we say management and monitoring, this involves students' individual determination of their goal. It means that in the self-directed learning, we were able to emphasize that the first step that one must be doing is to set this goal. So in this management and monitoring, this is where you start to um, check whether what you have established was able to be materialized and things like that. Okay, next. We also have assessing learners' needs. So as I've said a while ago, this is a way for you to research for resources, materials, and other aspects that students would prefer to use in their learning aspect. Okay, we have also collaboration with individuals and with other source of information that they can use. And also, uh, we also have self-evaluation, a reflection of deadlines and outcomes of the project, of what they need to learn. Okay, moving on. This is where we would make sense of our discussion of self-directed learning because this is the actual application of grid sheets or the actual application of self-directed learning in literature, because I will be introducing to you the product of our action research, the grid sheet. So the grid sheets stands for goal, role, instrument, target, output, and standard. It's aimed to establish a self-directed learning assessment tool for teachers to improve the intrinsic motivation of students. So this is being used by the teachers to help the student have an intrinsic motivation in learning. So this is a product of our action research. In this action research, we have a conclusion of learning materials suited for the new normal educations are available, yet they can utilize them more when contextualized for social cultural background of the student. It means that in our actual research, we were able to gather information that learning materials provided in our school are sufficient or were sufficient or suitable for the students to learn in the new normal. However, there are aspects in their socio-cultural, let's say for example, their ability to use gadgets and also the availability of the materials that they will be needing in doing the task in their module are the factors that contributes to them not being able to achieve more or to able to comply with the subjects that they are learning. Also, we were able to reflect based on the result of the study that we need to tap intrinsic motivation of the learners for them to really attain their goal or to attain higher academic performance. Okay, but before that, allow me to share this very interesting talk about grades. The TED talk about grades that shows why we were motivated or the this is one of the book that inspired me to look into the grits or the intrinsic motivation of students in learning, and how important students intrinsic motivation in learning for them to uh, attain their own phase, for them to attain the ability to create opportunities for them to learn better. Okay. This is a short grit talk in TED Talk. It talks about the power of intrinsic motivation. You see how the same grit is to self-directed learning, and that what is something that we were able to prove in our action research, that for students to be able to develop that grit, they need to have self-directed learning. We need to provide opportunities for students to actually be motivated to learn. Remember in the beginning of this discussion, I specifically mentioned how it's hard for you outside the educational system to learn on your own once you're already working, once you are already practicing that the how many years you have been learning in the educational system, because there would be no teachers in the when once you are already working. You need to learn on your own, and then there's no teacher, there would be no guidelines, there would be no principal, there would be no registrar to tell you what to do. But if starting in this younger years of education up into the college, you would develop the students eagerness to learn on their own. For if you would practice them expressing intrinsic motivation, or the ability to be motivated by themselves, they then as an institution, as an educational system, we could attain grittier students. It will only be possible if we would provide activities, if we will provide opportunities. I know that getting or developing a whole educational system that would prioritize student one by one, like teachers would only focus into one student, two, three, and then there would be something personal with the learner system, would be something that is out of reach, even in our own country here in the Philippines. It's something that is not really possible. Why? Because of the budget, because of the number of students, and a lot of other factors. Yet, as educators, as English teachers, we can do that. Here in our subject, we can have the power to provide students with at least an activity, with at least an opportunity for them to like what they're doing, for them to really make the plan out of the things that we are asking them to do as a form of assessment. Let's say, for example, instead of you providing them with the script that they need to do as a play, why not allow them to write their own script? Why not, instead of you looking for the most famous literature that they need to reflect upon, why not ask them to be their own writers of the 21st century? Isn't it? That's what I am pointing about whenever I am teaching literature. I want the students to be the writers that we are reading, be to feel that they can be a part of the literature that we are developing at present, right? So how would we do that as a teacher? One thing that we could do is to provide assessments, or at least learning tools that would allow them to have that opportunity. And I have here an example, which is the grid sheet, that would show us how we could provide um, activities to develop self-directed learning. As you can see in this grid sheets, you have there the goal. The goal is where that is the only part where the teachers would come in. You need to be able to set what is expected from them. But a part of that goal is something that the students would like to learn per se. So you are only as a teacher would be setting something that they need to do. Let's say, for example, what you want them to do is a play. But what they need to have in the play, what they that the script of the play would be, should be something that the students would be deciding upon, and the students would also establish their role in the activity that you'll be asking them to do. The instrument that they'll be using would be based on their available instrument, especially during the pandemic, wherein the students will be learning at home. Distance learning is very much prevalent in all countries. There's a beauty when you do not only provide what they must use in the instrument. Let's say, for example, I ask them to create um, a video, but they cannot provide it because they do not have a good cell phone available for them. So that would be a factor for the students to not be able to submit on my requirement, things like that. And the target output would be something that the students would be also describing. But however, the most essential part in these grid sheets is this rubric. Most of the time, whenever we are assessing the student, we would only be assessing them in one rubric. Let's say, for example, you would only focus into that aspect that is written. But as you can see, to be able to develop self-directed learning, we divided the rubric into two parts, which is the general rubric, the things that they need to achieve based on the performance standards that you need to have in your subject, and then there's a specialized rubric. This is where the decision, the part that the students will be um, wanting to do comes in, right? Because it actually, the reason why self-directed learning is something that is not yet applicable to a lot of aspect of education is because, for one, it's very time consuming. The the success of self-directed learning is something that we know would be possible, or is already given. However, our resources, our our requirements provided in our educational system would really hinder us to achieve self-directed learning. And that is why we provided examples of this. This may be one learning activity only, or one aspect of our teaching only, but you see how we were able to see, based on the action research, this is something that I am not only sharing to you as my idea, but this is actually a part of a research that we conducted and we were able to prove the success of these grid sheets. And also, what if the output that you'll be asking them to do would be something that is not presented? What if it's a written output? There comes another rubric that would focus on the product outputs. But if you could look into the rubric, if you could zoom into the rubric, you would see that the criteria here in the specialized rubric is the only thing that is different. So if you're going to teach, if you're going to provide opportunities like this to the student, you can create like three criterias that would be true to the whole class and two criterias that would be based on their output. For those teaching literature, I know that we are very much familiar on differentiated learning. And I think one of the mistakes of of creating rubrics in differentiated learning is when you only have one rubric. What if the presentation of the student is more on presentation? What if the student is more on written output? This should be it should be assessed differently. So that is where, or that is how we were able to make up with the grid sheet activity, or that is why we were able to create these activity sheets. Okay. My key takeaways in this discussion is self-directed learning promotes the natural development of self-confidence. If the students, despite their lacking resources, despite their uh, inability to master the language that you're using in your subject, despite the time constraint, despite other factors, but if they would have self-directed learning, or if they would practice self-directed learning, there would be confidence. They would have this initiative to learn on their own. Also, self-directed learning promotes opportunity to pursue far wider range of interest that is possible in a typical school, allowing the students to learn not only from what is in the module, not only from what is in your lesson plan, would allow them to have other avenues where they could apply what they have learned from you and in the lesson that you are discussing. Self-directed learning reinforces collaboration within and beyond the family. Since the first experiences, first education of the student would be coming from their parents, from their household, it's really it would really play a great part in them having and them developing their interests, developing their goals. So with that knowledge that the family is the greater contributor of the students' interest and their goal, it means that family and other personal aspect of the life of the student is is something that we need to take account in providing learning opportunities for them. Okay. We also have this action. I would like to end my presentation by providing not a quotation, not another sharing, but a question for us to take action. Knowing how great self-directed learning is for our students to love, to learn on their own, and to make learning something personal to them. When will you, as our educators, start allowing our students to be a huge part of the way they will learn? I hope that this is something that we would all reflect upon as a developed self-directed learners. Goodbye and a pleasant afternoon to all of you. Here are my references if you would like to know more about the information, and thank you for listening. Do not hesitate to ask any questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a wonderful presentation. I see in the comment box our participants are too much active about your presentation. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, now we are going to our quiz competition, and after that we come back again with our Q&A session. Okay, ma'am? Dear
Thank you so much.
participants, now we are going to our quiz competition, and today our quiz code is IGP quiz. Let's enjoy our quiz. Dear participants, this is our quiz session time. You can join this session by slido.com, and today our quiz code is IGP quiz. You can also scan our QR code from the screen to join this session. And top 10 quiz competition winners get their quiz certificate after this session from our official Facebook page. So to join the session, you have to Chrome or any other browser. After that, you have to go to slido.com and put the code, and the code is IGP quiz. Then you can join this session. We start our quiz competition after 1 minute later. So join the hurry up and mention your friends in the comment box. Now we have 34 participants already joined with us. Today our quiz code is IGP quiz. I remind you that there is no relationship between quiz completion certificate and free international webinar certificate. And top 10 quiz competition winners get their quiz certificate after this session from our official Facebook page. Let's start our quiz competition now. So be ready. Our first question is: teaching strategies can be varied depending on the topic and age groups or social marketing commercial. Option number one can be varied depending on the topic and age groups is the right answer. Our next question is: it has been said that teaching is an intellectual experience or a demanding profession. Option number one, an intellectual experiences is the right answer. Our next question is: a teaching method represents the manner in which the educator uses the material or resources available to produce or achieve. Is it teacher-centered outcomes or desired educational objectives? Option number two, desired educational objectives is the right answer. Our next question is: reciprocal teaching includes which of the following? Is it predicting, questioning, clarifying, summarizing, or evaluating, confirming, imaging, comprehending? Option number one, predicting, questioning, clarifying, and summarizing is the right answer. Our next question is: in general, vessels would be most helpful for teachers who have extensive experience or new teachers. New teachers is the right answer. Our next question is: which approach to teaching reading is most popular? Is it basal anthology or language experience? Option number one, basal or anthology is the right answer. Our next question is: to do better inform about the students in your class, you may ask them to bring in a few pages of their diary or write a personal profile on their first day. Option number two, write a personal profile on their first day is the right answer. Our next question is: what does the learning approach of project-based activities? Is it allows for a curriculum to be that or broad rather than specific, or students are given an inquiry-based model and self-paced can research? Option number two, students are given an inquiry-based model and Excel page can research is the right answer. Next question is enhance support as you begin teaching with into literature. Is it research edition or professional learning guide? Option number 2, professional learning guide is the right answer. Our last final question is in literature, what is conflict? Is it when a character is very upset or when a character is struggling with a problem or another character? Option number 2, when a character is struggling with a problem or another character is the right answer. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your active participation in this session. And on the leaderboard now, the top position is Saliana N Infante, and the second one is Kiki Kulina, and the third one is Kizang Tishari. Now we are proceed to our Q&A session. After a short video clip, we come back again. Hello, everyone. This is our Q&A session time, but we are sorry to say that our speaker laptop platform some of technical problems. So we are now going to our certification process. Today our program name is Self-Directed Approach in Teaching Literature, and today our certificate code is IGT 9336. The code is IGT 9336. Please note that code to download your certificate. The code is IGT 9336. Without code, no one is eligible for certificate. With code, you can claim a certificate anytime from our website. Our website address is eduigp.com. Thank you, everyone, for your active participation in this session, and I hope you learned something new from our speaker today. Thank you, everyone. Stay happy and stay safe.